Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. This is another episode of Open Money, real conversations about personal finance from everyday people. This episode features a gentleman named Tony and he has retired from the USA to Portugal. So let's hear what he has to say.
Well, thanks for putting me on this call. My name's Anthony Butler, Tony, I prefer to go by. I'm 61 years old, retired for 4 years now, and living in a small town in central Portugal, a town called Minito Intendant, about 1,000 people, small town.
Welcome to the channel. I'm from a small town too. I think we had 3,000 or 4,000 in the town I grew up in northern Michigan, so no one's ever heard of it. But I love it. I would go back to a small town any day of the week. So do you want to start out by telling us where you currently stand financially, like break down your assets and liabilities, and then we'll talk about your journey to get there.
One of the nice things in retirement, I think I'm doing all right. And probably for the first time in my life, I'm not terribly worried about money.
It's a good spot to be in.
Oh, by the way, I love when you talked about the pillow test. I like that phrase.
Yeah, me too. I heard that, I think in some finance book I read. I honestly don't remember where I read it. I didn't come up with it though.
It's a great thing. And most days I do pass it, which is great. So my total assets, I have to do this backwards, are about 716,000. These are my wife and my assets. Have an annuity that's right now worth about 110. Investments, which are more equity, but also bonds and dividends for about 290,000. I have a IRA, which is rolled over from my 403B from my old job, 135. The nice thing is our home, which is housing prices are going up here in Portugal. So it's worth about 145 now, but that's completely paid for. And so is the car completely paid for. And I think I checked my credit card and I got I think I owe them 135 euros. So it's pretty good. And we also have, we're carrying right now about 26,000 in cash.
Okay.
To keep us just in case things come up or I need that cash to move on. So
now, are these numbers in dollars or in euros?
I did them they're in euros right now.
Okay.
It's 102 now, so it's pretty close.
So what type of income does that provide you every single month?
We're doing, on top of that, my wife also collects Social Security. I'm not collecting my Social Security yet. I probably won't till I'm 67, all things being equal. So we're pulling in our annual budget. Our budget without like a big trip, if you will, it's about 3,000 a month, and we have money left over. So we're spending about 3,000 a month. And that's, on local travel, weekend here, weekend there, stuff for the house, going out to eat. I'm in under that, but that's what I have budgeted.
Yeah.
And that keeps us comfortable. If I stay within that, I don't have to worry. I have no bills that carry over or anything like that. So.
Now, can I ask what your home was when you bought it? You said it's now worth about 145.
It was 116,000 euros. So it's like the whole world, property prices have gone up a bit.
Yeah. And so that was about 4 years ago
yes. Right around Thanksgiving of 2018.
So I would say prices of properties in Portugal are pretty starkly different than America, maybe?
I mean, I was looking at, I forget, the median home's like 400,000 or something like that in the US.
I think last time I checked it was 440,000, which to me is jaw-dropping.
I mean, I appreciate that. I mean, we lived in Brooklyn and owned our house, and that's actually selling our house probably afforded us the ability to do this. So,
yeah.
It's worth a little bit. So, yeah.
What was your home valued at that you sold in Brooklyn?
We sold it at a bit of a discount because we sold to friends, but it was valued a little over $1 million.
Oh, wow.
So, and we bought it for 100 and, testing my memory, it's quite a few years ago. It was in a good neighborhood when we bought it.
Yeah.
Took a chance, and I did a lot of work on it, did a lot of renovations and a lot of improvements, and then sold it to the parents of our godchildren. So.
Wonderful. Was it paid off by the time you sold it?
Not completely, but we did pay it off. So that's how we're able to enter retirement debt-free.
Gotcha. Now going through, if most of your nest egg came from the sale of your property, did you invest during your working years?
I did. I didn't know much about investment until I took my last job. And when I got there, it had in the nonprofit world, it's a 403B, not a 401k. It was a mess. So I got lucky that some guy called me. It's funny, you take a chance, who was kind of branching out his business. He was working for Nationwide. That's who he represented, but branching out his business into the nonprofit world. And I said, we need some help here. And so he created our retirement plan. We matched up to 3% and so on. Because I really wanted to bring my employees on. There were virtually no benefits when I started. So we wanted a retirement plan, good medical insurance. We carried a small life insurance policy on people, things like that. So that's when I personally, I'd invested prior, my old job, but that was just automatic deduction. But it wasn't really that. I think when I left there, I had like 20,000, 21,000, about that. But then the new job started putting money away for that. But it was really the sale of the house. I mean, I was investing, but the problem, living in New York's not cheap either.
No.
It's not cheap. And my wife wasn't working. And my wife, she's a 2-time cancer survivor, so she was disabled.
Wow.
Not disabled legally, if you will, not. So it was just my income. When we started thinking about this, we started looking at the value of the house, which turned into a very good investment. And then looking at things, and that's where learning how to do complicated budgets and complicated spreadsheets personally really helped me. I was like, oh darn, this could work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people end up in that kind of situation, like their home ends up being their largest investment. And if they can sell it and downsize or go to a cheaper country even.
It did work. And I was getting burned out from the work. I had to raise between 6 and 7 million a year from private donors. The fundraising was getting old. And being responsible, I'd grown the place to about 40 employees. So I was responsible for making payroll all the time and all that. And advocating in the political world, because we were providing emergency services for hungry New Yorkers and homeless people and like that. So I've worked in the anti-poverty field my whole life. So all that, and my wife was saying, you're getting a bit squirrely here because it's just beating me up.
Yeah.
My wife's older than I am. So also wanted to take retirement when we can both enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said you retired 4 years ago. What age did you retire at?
57.
So that's an early retirement.
Yeah, it was. And it was just, like I said, we started, it's not really a financial thing, but I was probably bored at work and surfing the web and got some pop-up about Portugal's a great place to retire. And I came home and said, look at this little video I just saw. And she goes, well, let's check it out. And it kind of happened. Did all the work and the tax incentives for here and everything else. So
from the point of getting that pop-up to actually thinking this is our move and it's going to happen, what was that time frame?
Probably about 4 months. We decided to take a trip.
Come
here and explore. And that kind of confirmed. And then the continued doing the kind of financial, make sure it worked, and how we're going to invest. And one of the things, because I worked in New York and did fundraising, there's a lot of money floating around New York, and I met people who knew money.
Yeah.
Really big money.
Yeah.
I have to drop names, but Paul Tudor Jones would take a call from me.
Wow.
Was kind of silly money, but I also got a broker who had worked with us who probably wouldn't have taken me, but knew me. And we've done some stuff. So he took on our smaller, comparatively to his. Yeah.
A lot of brokers have an entry of 5 million or something just to get with them.
No, they did it for us and handles my investments. And I'm invested. I think my mindset is if I can maintain my cash flow monthly and never touch the initial principal that I invested, I'm good forever.
Perfect. Absolutely. It perpetually provides money. You're good to go.
So that's all, to live on and to live well. We're living well. We're not, and the medical care is good here and all that kind of stuff, planning for the future.
At what point did you turn to an advisor?
When I realized I was selling the house, and I had more money than cash that and I wanted to make it work.
Yeah.
It was going to sit in the bank account. And we also, part of the deal was I paid off my daughter's student loans for her since we were
Oh,
moving. She was free and clear, and she subsequently has moved to Portugal too. But
That actually is a win-win. Then you get to keep family close.
yeah, so but yeah, so we did that for her. So just to,
Yes. Actually, I was talking to the funeral director at my grandparents' funeral, and he is a huge proponent of passing along any inheritance while your children are still alive, because he's like, I actually want to see them enjoy it. And I always thought his perspective was really great because, I mean, he's surrounded by death all the time. So I'm like, well, he might know a thing or two.
particularly, I mean, the generation. My daughter's 29, and some of them are settled with incredible debt, and it's tragic.
yeah. Like having to start your life $60,000 or $30,000 behind or in the hole is horrible.
Yeah, so that was good. We were able to do that. So,
Well, that was very nice of you. I think parents who can do that, they're amazing. So you said that you had an annuity. Could you go into what decision led you to go with an annuity and what it looks like for you?
it was advice from our broker to kind of break the money we were putting in, obviously rolling over the IRA, taking the bulk of it, putting it into investment broker funds, stocks and bonds and so on, and annuity in my wife's name, so we would have a guaranteed income. So even if it loses everything, it's still paying $7,500 a year. And I went with him. The way I went into meeting my brokers, I said, here, I really budgeted my retirement, that I tried to cost out everything. My fund, my house, healthcare, everything. So I had a very detailed spreadsheet of what I thought it would cost. And it's been actually reasonably accurate. So then I need this much money annually. And how can we do that? And he said, well, an annuity can do that and buffer you. And it turned out well, particularly for this year, with the market. Well, today it's okay.
Yes. It's coming back, it seems like it, but I mean, you never know.
I've never made or lost this much money ever in my life. But it's it's not money I'm touching, but but that's why the annuity is the guaranteed. It's making less money. I mean, obviously, it's a product they sell, mutual. But it is, it is, obviously allows Mass Mutual to take my money and do much riskier investments than I ever would. But it's paid between when the market was good a year and a half ago or so. It paid us $15,000.
Yeah. Oh, so it's a variable.
It's variable. Yeah, it's guaranteed $7,950. I'm not quite sure. A weird number, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But then it can, depending on the market, it can pay whatever.
Incredible.
Guarantee the minimum, which is nice. Obviously pays more, and then I pay more capital gains tax. But that's another problem.
I think we all did that last year.
I got my Portuguese tax bill, and Portugal has a deal, by the way, that we qualified for 10 years. We essentially pay no taxes here.
Really? Why is that?
It's called, the name's odd. It's called non-habitual resident, which actually means you are an habitual resident. You live here full time, which we do. And they give you, mostly for retirees, not if you were working, but they give you a 10-year tax abatement that I don't pay. I only pay my real estate tax, which is very moderate.
Wow.
But you do pay 28% on capital gains.
Okay.
So that surprised me this year. Last year I paid nothing, but this year I got a little. Oops. That's why you need a little bit of cash in the bank sometimes.
Yep. An emergency fund is important at all stages.
It just annoys you, doesn't scare you.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about the cost of living in Portugal versus the US? Because it seems like it's much lower.
It's a lot less. It's not as lot less as it used to be.
Yeah.
Portugal's running this month, I think we're up to about 8% inflation, 0.1. But you can still, the cost of living of basic necessities, like my grocery bill with wine and everything, and beer, food and everything, is about $400 a month.
Okay.
And about $100 a week, I would say. And then you can still go out, like we go out. You can go out to lunch to a nice restaurant for 20 euros. wine and food. So it's probably at least a third less than the US, or maybe more. Sometimes it's half. Obviously, Lisbon's more expensive than the big cities, like that. But it is. Now, my problem is I probably skew things because I lived in New York so long.
Yeah.
So I'm comparing it to New York prices.
Yes.
So I'm not comparing it to like my in-laws live in Indiana, which I know has a very, as states go, very low cost of living. So, but it has worked for us, and we didn't just come here because it was cheap. You know, we met the people. It's the only downside. It's been the language. It's been hard. I'm getting. But people have been very welcoming. It's a much calmer lifestyle. Healthcare is good. I mean, that's another expense. I carry private insurance, but to give you an idea, I'm paying my full private insurance for 2 people, and my wife's a 2-time cancer survivor, and we're paying €100 a month for health insurance. That's it.
Wow.
And that we only carry that because it gives us the luxury of using private doctors. The public system is very good, but you have to wait a little longer.
Yeah.
So we do in the public system. After we got our residency, we are enrolled in the public healthcare system here. So.
Wow. How long did it take to get your residency?
When we got here, we made it probably, I think, 4 months.
Okay. And
it was pretty. I mean, I had to get a visa first to get here. If you're not coming as a tourist, you have to get a visa, and we did all that, and then. And it's very sensible immigration policy. You just have to show you have enough money, you're not a criminal, and you have a place to live. That's really
good standards.
Yeah, it's 3 requirements. So we had an FBI background check. We had bought a house by then here, so a place to live, and we showed our bank statements, and that was it.
Do you think your quality of life is better in Portugal than it would have been in the U.S.?
I think so, because we would have had to leave New York.
Yeah,
I could not have maintained that. We like Europe a lot. I have a foster daughter who married a Dutchman, so we go visit them in the Netherlands. And that kind of got us going. We really wanted to travel. It is a better quality of life. It's much calmer. Now, maybe it's also, I'm entering into that stage of life too. I was working a very high pressure job, working 80, 90 hours a week. And now I don't do much after I cook lunch. You know?
I've actually considered retiring to a different country. I mean, retirement is still a very long way off for us. I mean, I'm kind of ballparking like a 55 age retirement. So it's 20 years. But I don't know. My thing is that I would worry about friendships in the States and family in the States.
Train some of them. I mean, I guess the whole pandemic gave us the practice for Zooming everybody.
Yes.
One of we budgeted for some of my friends who truthfully don't have the money.
Yeah.
We budgeted plane tickets for them.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Because it's not really, and when you think of it, at least from New York, it's only a 6-hour flight from New York. So it's crazy expensive. So if we want to see them, why don't we just send them a ticket?
Yeah. I like that approach.
Us going, and they can come and see something different. So we put that in the budget, if you will.
Yeah.
Now we're going to start traveling again too. We've missed that too ourselves. So.
How often do you travel?
We were traveling, about every 3 or 4 months. Now some of those were weekends. Portugal's got a lot to see. So we can Airbnb it, but with COVID, it really got locked down. But we're going to Spain in September for a week, actually visiting the parents of my godchildren and their children. And then we're taking our trip of a lifetime that we've saved up a bit. We're taking a trip down the Nile.
Oh, wow.
To Egypt, 4 days in Cairo, then a trip down the Nile. And, solve some murder or something. We'll do our Hercule Poirot kind of thing.
Like a murder mystery?
Yeah. Well, but it's going to be a 2-week trip with private guides and like that. I mean, we splurged a bit to do.
I think living there is allowing you to do.
It's cheap. One of the costs of living, it's interesting. When I book my flights, I have to make sure I book, because I have residency in Portugal.
Yeah.
Make sure I claim, like on the website, that I show that I'm a Portuguese resident.
The
price will drop by a third.
Really?
Versus my U.S. passport, even though I don't. It's a different pricing structure.
That's interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah. So, and then they asked me when I get that to show, but I have a card, but it does save some money.
So if you wanted to take a trip to, say, England, like how would a flight look, like price-wise, time-wise?
When we went, my daughter did her master's there after she first moved to England before she went to Portugal. And we spent, this was 2020, I think, January 2020. And it was Ryanair, which is like flying on a bus. But I think we did the whole thing for like 300, then 350, two of us round trip. So it was quite affordable.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I can get back to Michigan for 300 round trip.
No, and Indiana, because my wife's family's from there. And
yeah.
It would be 600, 700.
From where you are?
From New York.
Okay.
Back then. And that's one of the reasons, I mean, we started looking at Europe, it was like,
yeah.
you want to go to Indianapolis or you want to go to Paris? I was just going to.
Well, I feel like as an American, like Europe just looks amazing. It looks romantic. It looks beautiful. Like it just looks like it wins.
I mean, it's got its problems, it's got its issues, but I mean, one of the nice shows Portugal too is it's a very safe country and it's the very safest country in the world. So it's just that which does impact your quality. You just don't worry about stuff, particularly after having to have my spidey sense going for the last 30 years in New York and working in tough neighborhoods and things like that. So,
well, I remember I grew up, like when I say it's a tiny town, it's tiny. Like there's a McDonald's, but outside of that, there's no chains that exist there. And I remember taking a trip with my mom down to the outskirts of Detroit. And she was parked trying to turn onto a road. And I'm like, you need to go. Like, there is a guy, like, right there. I'm very uncomfortable. She's like, Erin, that is a bus stop. But we didn't have them. So I just thought this guy was, like, waiting to, like, jump in the car. So I am not built for cities. Like, I get very, like, nervous in traffic. I just...
I mean, I must admit now I don't miss it. I mean, I liked it when I was there. Density and I was a bit of a influential in certain things, and then particularly in the poverty world. I mean, I meet people and did things, and invited to nice events at the Waldorf and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Still have a tux someplace. I don't know. But now I don't miss it. I mean, we were in Lisbon the other day. Met my daughter. Just went out to lunch, and Lisbon's much smaller. I mean, Lisbon's barely 1 million people, but it still seemed big to me again.
Yeah.
But I can get there in 45 minutes. And I can take the train in, so I don't have to worry about driving and parking.
Well, I think the rail system and everything in Europe is far superior to what we have.
It's much cheaper.
Yeah.
Even based on, I mean, salaries in Portugal are low. That's why things are cheaper too. And they are creeping up.
And you say the mentality is different there. It's not as political, but what about just the people you interact with? What's that like?
Better now because I can at least understand most of what they say. I can't always respond, but Portugal, they're very welcoming people. They wonder what the heck someone from New York or from the United States is living in this little town.
Yeah.
I think we're a bit odd that way, but they like us. So, like, we've been invited to parties and birthday parties, and we went to a wedding the other week and stuff like that. So all those things. So people have been very, very good. I think we're sometimes still a bit of a curiosity, but I mean, you want to be tactful. I mean, we probably have more money than a lot of people here who, it's a farm community too. Don't want to be the ugly American kind of thing either. So you want to be tactful of that and things like that. But it has afforded us, and my wife and I have always been a bit adventuresome. So it's also not just a retreat, and do something calmer, but let's try something new because we both get bored eventually.
So you're now like globetrotters at this point of your life. Yeah. Were you like that prior to? I
mean, I think my first trip to Europe was when I was hired by St. John's University in New York to go to Rome. They were opening a campus there, and they wanted to set up a service learning program. But the fun thing is they flew me to Rome and wined and dined me, went all over the place. And I think the bug really bit then. And my wife, a couple of years later, to Amsterdam. And then we're just like, wow, we can do this, and then not looking back after that.
And how old were you when that happened?
I was like 40, 42, 43, something like that.
Okay, so it kind of happened in midlife.
Yeah, it was, because I teased my daughter. I mean, she went to Paris when she was like 14.
Yeah.
She was nervous. I said, "You better go."
It sounds like you got your entire family over there. So you got your daughter and your adopted daughter.
I mean, both my wife and I come from a big family. She's from a family of 10. I'm from a family of 9, which may be why we only have one child.
Yeah.
But yeah, so brought them over. My foster daughter, she's living in Den Bosch, which is about an hour south of Amsterdam. And so yeah, we do.
I think that makes it more enjoyable to have family with you.
Yeah, no, it does. It does make it more enjoyable, and then meeting new people.
Yeah.
So it is good having family over here. And as I mentioned earlier, to be able to not terribly worry about money. I mean, that was my goal.
Mm-hmm.
To live. We definitely live below our means.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to my wife over lunch today. It's an interesting thing, because when I was working, I mean, this is not an earth-shattering idea, but you're worried about money, paying your bills, but I always knew I could go out and get a better paying job.
Mm-hmm.
I could always make more money. Well, now I can't. It's kind of finite, so I got to stay on top of it and watch it. But it's a real different kind of mindset. That it's not money coming in every month. You got to watch, and you got to plan for expenses and have enough of a cushion. It's a real different type of thought process than just paychecks coming in, and you can't push. When you're young, I mean, you can push debt forward for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we did it a bit with our mortgage. I mean, people complain about interest rates. When we first had our first mortgage, it was 14%.
Oh wow!
So whatever. So we played the mortgage game for a long time, just kept pushing it down. By the time we were done, it was like 2.9 or something like that. So I hear people complain about interest rates. You don't even know.
Well, hopefully they don't get back up to that.
No, I hope not. I hope not. Credit cards are getting back up there, though.
Mm-hmm. I think credit cards are like around 29%, but you should never carry a balance on them anyway.
For my Chase, I forget it's like 22 Chase was.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't worry about it because I never carry anything over. But
yeah, that's the way I think about them too.
I only use my credit card for stuff I might possibly want to dispute. That's what I pay almost everything with my debit card.
Yeah.
That's another thing too, to just try. I really look to pay cash for everything, because then it's done. And I use an app, not pitching it, but it's called Money Lover.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small little app, but because one of the things that's been very helpful for me is not so much the budgeting, but I track all my expenses. Not against a budget per se.
Yeah.
I do every quarter or so. I have spreadsheets and things, but I have an app that I know this month how much we spent on food, how much we spent on clothes, how much we spent on medical expenses.
And did you do that when you were working and earning a paycheck, or this has been more?
No, foolish I was. I think I picked up one of these videos, or something I saw in probably a video that you recommended, and it just struck me that you have to ruthlessly stay on top of your budget, stay on top of your expenses, and know what you're spending money on. Now, when I was working, I was very good with that with the company expenses.
Mm-hmm.
I knew everything we were spending money on, how much, and why are we spending an extra 100 on this?
Yeah.
But and my wife handled the bills at home.
Yeah.
We switched that. She handled all the expense and all the paying of the bills, because I just couldn't deal with both of them. So we split that up. But now I said, since we moved here, I'll take care of that. It's a little more, it's a bit more complex, not financially, but technologically, it's a bit more complex.
Yes.
So if people were interested in retiring abroad, what would be the things you would say to them?
I think the first thing is, before even retiring abroad, figure out what retirement's going to cost you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to monetize everything.
Mm-hmm.
Trips, fun, shoes, booze, friends, taxes, all that stuff. And then see why you want to retire. I would not recommend retiring. This is a negative answer. I would not recommend retiring abroad simply for financial reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's cheaper. I don't think it'll work.
Mm-hmm.
You'll resent that you've left something, you got priced out.
Mm-hmm.
That you've got to like where you land. I mean, I think it's the same as in the States, we probably could afford to retire to Florida, but no offense to people down there, but that's the last place I wanted to end up.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it's not a right fit for me, even though financially it might have worked. So, really got to, the two things: figure out what's all going to cost you, and then figure out what's valuable to you. What you, and if you're married, have a partner.
Yeah.
What's valuable to both of you, and can it meet those needs in a reasonable thing? And if you're married or have a partner, there's a big adjustment, because I've never spent this much time with my wife before in my life. I was gone.
Yeah.
I'm home and probably fall asleep in front of the television, or something.
Now you have to learn to live with each other again, like really live with each other.
It's a big thing. I've taken over all the cooking.
Yeah.
So, and I still schedule my day, even I've always scheduled my day, not on paper, but I wake up in the morning and I'm going to do this and this, and I like that. But retiring abroad is a good thing, but you do miss people. I think you'll if it's a country with a foreign language, you'll always feel slightly like an idiot, because you just can't complete, and not everything's the same. You can't, even financially, how things are done. It's and particularly if, like myself, who ran a large nonprofit, the type A kind of person, I was on top of my game pretty much, and wasn't afraid to tell people what to do and operationalize my ideas. Now I have to step back and say, well, help. It's humbling and learning. It's good.
Yeah.
It is. I think that's why I've gotten so geeky with. I know more about finances now that I don't need to than I did before. I should have known.
Never too late to learn.
No, and I like it. It's just kind of. It also gives a comfort level too. To resist that. You've spoken with it on your videos and several of the channels I watch. It's so easy to panic. Oh, I just lost $75,000. Because the Dow tanked today. The difference between investing versus kind of gambling.
True. You just stand in for the long haul with investing.
That's why I don't have any. I've never personally bought any stocks. So I know some people keep a little bit on the side, but I just I don't. Because I don't want the response. Personally, I don't want the response. I probably could make, if I was good, I could make a little more money, but I don't want the responsibility. I want to be able to live my lifestyle till I have no more life.
Well, I really want to thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. I hope it's helpful. Like I said just at the beginning of this, I wish I could have had these kind of thoughts back when I was in my 30s or so, to just it would start rattling around in my head then, and wish I understood compound interest back then.
If you like these types of videos where real people are talking about their real personal financial journeys, leave it in a comment down below. Or if you would like to be featured, if you want to talk about your monthly budget or your net worth or how your income trajectory has been throughout your career or any other side of personal finance, send me an email at erintalksmoney@gmail.com and we'll get you scheduled. I hope you have a great day. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. Have a great day. Bye.